get a... No, I don't need that. I need something to change the slides. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bill Ballander, and I'm president of the International Cotton Association. And today we're going to talk to you about trading, safe trading in a volatile world. The ICA is an association made up of members, and it is run by its members for its members. We run training courses, we run a trade event, we govern a pool of arbitrators, but probably most importantly, we debate, agree, and publish a set of bylaws and rules. And that is the means by which we provide a framework for our members and for non-members to trade the exported bale in a global environment that is very volatile. So let's start by asking, well, why do we even need ICA bylaws and rules? First of all, there's price risk. Many of you in here will remember 2010-11. Certainly those of you with grey hair will remember why you got that grey hair. It was a very, very volatile time. Times like those, you need a set of bylaws and rules, you need independent arbitrators, you need an association to help. Today, we have politics. Now, while the trade war is ostensibly between the US on one side and China on the other side, it affects everyone in our market. I would be as bold to say that probably the vast majority of the price decline that we've seen recently is because of this trade war. The trade war has restricted the trade of US cotton to China. That has developed into a price decline driven by the US bale's need to find new markets. So politics is affecting, price volatility is affecting the risk that everyone's taking. And weather. Of course, in a country like India, where we've heard 60 to 70% of the cotton that is produced in India is rain-fed, you're very dependent upon a monsoon. In years when weather is very variable and climate change would tend to have us believe that weather will be becoming more variable, again, you need protection. Now, one of the criticisms that you often hear from people who are trading under ICA bylaws and rules is that, well, I don't know what they mean, I don't understand them. Now, there's really no excuse for that, because they are published online and anyone can have access to them. If you're trading under ICA bylaws and rules, I would urge you very strongly to read them, because they are very carefully laid out and described so that you know exactly what you can and can't do. Now, here today, I'll take you through some of the important bylaws and rules that I think it does matter that you know about. Probably our two most important rules are rules 237 and 238. Those are the rules that effectively prescribe that a contract can never be cancelled. And that's quite unique within the ICA. Once a contract is established, it cannot be cancelled. We don't care what the reason is. It can be force majeure, an act of God, it can be any reason you like, but you can never cancel a contract. It also talks about invoicing back, so that rather than ever cancelling a contract, the goal of the ICA is to put both the buyer and the seller in the same position they would otherwise have been had that contract been performed. Now, not performing a contract does not mean it's been defaulted on necessarily. It simply means that for one reason or another, it is not being performed. Under our rules and bylaws, you can see exactly how to come to an amicable conclusion to a non-performing contract. We talk about, in Bylaw 300, we talk about the definition of quality and technical arbitrations. Quality is, of course, very simply put, when you receive a grade or a staple or a mic that you believe is outside the contracted quality, you can use the ICA in order to settle that. A technical arbitration, which is much more common for us, is when it's the rules and bylaws that govern how you behave when a contract is not performed for other reasons. For instance, an LC might not be opened, or it might have expired, or a shipment missed, or simply the fact that one party could not perform the contract. Very clearly laid out how you behave and how you conclude that amicably. If you cannot come to an amicable conclusion, then of course you go to arbitration. Within our rules and bylaws, you can see the time frames that are laid out. How many days you have to claim, how many days you have in order to get the tribunal set. Everything you need to understand when you are within and outside the rules and bylaws that govern the contract. Something that's very important for mills in particular is the recognition we made, and this is very recent, that it's one thing to deliver a grade or a staple that is 1 or 2 grades lower, but if you start to get too far away from the contracted quality, then it becomes very, very difficult for that consumer to even use that cotton. Therefore, we have introduced a set of multipliers that mean if, for instance, you deliver 3 grades lower than the contracted quality, the value difference, which is published on the ICA website, will be multiplied by 2. That's a big deal for consumers, and considering most of our income comes from members who are merchants, I think it was an enormous step forward in demonstrating that we are a very inclusive association. You can see claims for false packed, mixed plated, and bales containing foreign matter. Again, as a consuming market in India, that's very important. And we even have small claims arbitration, where if the claim is for $75,000 or less, there is a streamlined approach and you can use 1 arbitrator rather than 3. Finally, Bylaw 366, which is a very important one, deals with the tricky subject of unfulfilled awards and defaulting parties. We published 2 lists, List 1 and List 2. List 1 is the name of people who have had an award given to them and failed to honor it. We publish the name of those people. Why? Because we will not allow our members to trade with those people. But we've gone further, and we now publish the names of any related party to that. So a party cannot be on the default list, open a new company, and start trading under a new name. We will not allow our members to trade with defaulters. We are an association that believes in sanctity of contract, and our mission is to marginalize the defaulter. I'd just like to dwell for a moment on the important issue of a contract never being cancelled. It's very important to understand. When a contract is issued, and under English law, that doesn't mean you have to sign it. It simply means a contract has to be formed. It can be on the telephone, it can be on WhatsApp, it can be a handshake. That's a contract. But once it's formed, under ICA bylaws and rules, it can never be cancelled. And you can only invoice it back according to our rules and bylaws. Again, to put the buyer and seller in the position they otherwise would have been. We try and be fair and equitable to buyer and seller, and we say we're not blaming anyone for what's happened here, so let's put you both in the position you would have been and move on. Arbitration is undertaken by a tribunal. If you find that you cannot come to an amicable settlement, then you go to arbitration. Each party has the right to appoint an arbitrator, and then a chairman who is an experienced arbitrator and sits on the Arbitration Strategy Committee, will be appointed by the association. That gives 3 people to manage the arbitration going forward. We aim to complete arbitrations within 8 weeks, by the way. We don't always succeed, but we try. Arbitrators are independent. They are not your advocate. They are not your lawyer. You can't pick up the phone to an arbitrator during an arbitration and ask for advice. That isn't the way it works. We are independent. We don't see you as a client. We simply see you as a buyer or seller, and our role as arbitrators and as a tribunal is to put you back in a position as if the contract were executed. Finally, at the end of the process, an award is produced. And most of the time, that award is honored, and one party normally has to pay the other party the market difference if it's in most cases, or it can be a quality claim or whatever it is. And in most cases, that's the way it happens. In some cases, a party doesn't want to pay the award. They have the right of appeal. Of course they have the right of appeal. And if they appeal, then a technical appeal committee is formed to reconsider the case. But in the end, one way or another, an award must be honored at the end of all that. And if it's not, then that person will end up on the list of unfulfilled awards. And anyone on that list will not be able to trade with an ICA member. I think I've explained to you part 1, which is the name of the people who are on the award that has not been honored, and part 2, which is those people who are related. So we try and ensure that no trading with defaulters or people related to defaulters can happen. A quick word about ICA Bremen. It's a joint venture we have with the Bremen Baumwollbörse, and it is, we believe, the premier laboratory testing facility and quality certification facility in the world. That is a place where, should a quality arbitration happen, the first samples will normally be tested. It also runs a program of certification for HVI labs around the world. I'm now going to show you a very short video on the ICA and why you might want to become a member of the ICA. There would normally be a soundtrack with this. I'm not going to sing, but is there any volume? No? Okay, well luckily it is very short, but there are words you can follow. Obviously, most of you will be familiar with the ICA trade event that takes place in October every year. It's a very good time to network and meet your clients. On the ICA website, you can actually search to see who is on the default list and whether you should be trading them or not. And of course, there is some financial incentive to being an ICA member if you use our services. Cheaper training, cheaper arbitration. A quick word about the Cotton Association of India and the ICA. And on this subject, I would like to thank the CAI for inviting the ICA to come and make a presentation, and also thank the CAI for all the cooperation we've had. We have an MOU with the CAI. It's one of only 3 we have globally, and it's something we're very proud of, as we and CAI share a common goal, which is to promote sanctity of contract and improve safe trading. You will, of course, recognize this gentleman. He was the first Indian president of the ICA, Mr. Mohit Shah. The MOU was first signed under his presidency, and we continue to evolve that MOU. We run training in India, and we share a vision, as I say. 28 seconds to go, not bad. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Hello. Sir, you said that contract cannot be cancelled under any circumstance. Suppose there is a trade war. Suppose there is a real war set between India and Pakistan. I have sold cotton to Pakistan, then what happens?
Has to be invoiced back at the market difference.
Even if there is a war. Okay.
Hello. Hi, Bill. Nice to see you here in India.
Hi, sorry, there's a big glare there. I can't. Yeah.
Do you have any special plans for India? We will be signing the MOU with you shortly, and your office bearers were here 6 months back also in India. So any special plans for India?
From an ICA perspective, I mean, I'd say we have a very special relationship with the CAI. It's a particularly close relationship. As I say, we only have MOUs with China and India. So in terms of special plans, I think we want to continue our training. We want to continue to come here and explain to people how ICA rules work. And really what we want to see is more members joining from India. In the end, the ICA is a community of like-minded people. It's people who believe in sanctity of contract, who want to show the world that they believe in sanctity of contract. And so we will do whatever we can along with CAI to try and bring more members from the Indian cotton community into ICA. So training, visits, we'll continue doing that. And of course we have the MOU, which is very, very dear to us.
You can also look at CAI as your testing partner in India.
I think we could. I think that's something that CAI should discuss with the ICA Bremen. Yeah.
Thank you.
And just to go back to your question on war, it's a very interesting, obviously very topical question today. But to explain a little bit, you know, war is, it's nobody's, obviously, you each think it's the other side's fault, but in the end, it's not for us to judge who's at fault. However, we know that there was a contract before a war started, and therefore, at the point at which there is a breach, which is the point at which either side should know the contract will not be performed,